Who's better now? The student or the master?
It's always worth exploring alternate routes and quests in Metroidvanias, even if it means facing one of these tough bosses. Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're looking at the hardest optional or secret boss fights found across the genre.
You'll pay for this transgression. Death is too kind for you.
But before we dive in, we publish new content all week long. So be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Fan Tune, Metroid Other M. Once a standard boss in Super Metroid, Fan Tune makes a glorious return as the secret final boss in Other M. You can't fight it until after you've beaten the main story, and defeating it unlocks the game's true ending. While not one of the hardest fights in the series, Metroid has few options when it comes to secret bosses. Still, as the final challenge, Fan Tune certainly puts up a fight. The hardest part is dealing with its barrage of projectiles. You almost have no time to fire between dodging a swarm of homing blue fireballs. Then there are the giant tentacles and vortexes to watch out for. While Samus should have plenty of health at this point, that can drain quickly if you fail to dodge too much. Jaguar Javier, Guacamelee 2. You know the saying, less is more? Well, when it comes to Jaguar Javier and Guacamelee 2, that's just not true. He appeared as a story boss in the first game, but is an optional fight in the sequel found through a side quest. And while his attacks and mechanics are more or less the same, the main problem is that now, he doesn't fight you alone. Jaguar Javier gets help from a couple of alternate dimension selves as the fight progresses, and so can easily overwhelm you. He has a couple of unblockable attacks and some high defense through shields. Because there are 3 of him, you can't just attack like normal, and even going on the defensive means you'll have your back against the wall from the start. Beholder, Aeterna Noctis. One of the most iconic monsters from Dungeons & Dragons appears as a secret boss in Aeterna Noctis, and just like in D&D, players had better be prepared for a tough fight. After defeating 50% of all monsters, the Collector will give you a lamp, which you can open in the Dream Temple to let the Beholder out. While it has a noticeable pattern, its attacks can be difficult to deal with. With spikes protruding from the floor, you'll have to constantly wall jump while it fires quick blasts towards you. With the spikes gone, it then breaks apart into a bunch of balls that bounce around and can be really hard to dodge. Next is the only time you can hurt it, when it makes 3 copies of itself before quickly disappearing. Tormenta, the Unspeakable Fear. Dandara, Trials of Fear Edition. Dandara is already a tricky Metroidvania to get the hang of, since gameplay revolves around jumping and sticking to walls and ceilings instead of being able to freely move around. And Tormenta would be a nightmare even under normal circumstances. Found in the Trials of Fear Edition, you can face Tormenta by completing all Hidden Realms events, and then defeating the main boss once more. Not only will your aim need to be perfect for dealing damage and changing platforms, but so will your timing since there are projectiles flying all over the place. Tormenta also changes the arena as her health bar lowers, and that, along with how many attacks you have to watch out for, makes the fight really frustrating. Artaban, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. The Lost Crown's Mask of Darkness DLC added in some additional story, which saw Sargon contend with his former ally, the assassin Rajin. But it also added a secret fight against Artaban, who teaches you a variety of combat techniques throughout the game. You must first have completed all of his combat trials before you can face him, and naturally, his fight will test how much of his teachings stuck. Getting hit by any one of his attacks can bring immediate panic, since they deal a lot of damage. So your dodging and blocking better be up to snuff. His dive attacks and the massive water cyclone he produces are particularly troublesome. It should come as no surprise, he is one of the immortals after all. Jarlohat, Death's Gambit. As ridiculous as it is hearing me try to pronounce that name, this boss's strength and prowess should not be underestimated. To fight him, you must collect the 5 fragments of exiled gods, found on invisible enemies in specific locations, as well as the Crimson Egg, the recipe of which you get after already reaching Ending A. Your reward for going through all of that is a beatdown. He has an interesting mechanic where he travels through time, forcing you to actually change your clock in the PC version. Even without that confusing bit of fourth wall breaking, you have to deal with tentacles coming out of portals, his ability to hide himself, and projectiles by changing the arena's color from black to white, and the 4th phase where he turns monstrous and dashes at you from off the side of the screen.
One of infinite outcomes. Lucky for you.
Galamoth, Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Even though many die-hard fans will go there, the floating catacombs are a completely optional area in Symphony of the Night, since there's nothing related to the story that takes you there. But it does hold a hefty challenge to test yourself against in the form of its boss, Galamoth. The behemoth towers over you, so tall that his head doesn't normally fit on screen, and he's got the power to back up the stature, unleashing lightning blasts that cover a large area and a stream of huge black orbs that home in on you. All of his attacks can be deadly. While players have figured out ways to cheese this fight with proper equipment, anyone unaware of these methods will find Galamoth to be an intimidating force. Balos, Cave Story. To unlock the true ending of Cave Story, you'll first have to acquire the secret items needed to access its hidden final area, the Blood-Stained Sanctuary. As is befitting of a place with such a name, the secret final boss, Balos, proves to be a big challenge. He'll make you sweat across several phases. First is his human form, who brings lightning and utilizes quick dashes around the arena. After dealing with that, the true fight will start when he transforms into a gigantic head, which first tries to squash you before sending a cavalcade of flying eyeballs after you. It isn't a very long fight if you know what you're doing. Then again, that's true if you don't, too. Orlok Dracul, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. For most of Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, Orlok Dracul is your ally, a friendly vampiric librarian you can gain tomes from to make yourself stronger. He also has the potential to be the hardest boss in the game. To unlock his fight, you must first, essentially, have gone through the entire map. Afterwards, you can get the Tome of Conquest from Orlok and meet him for a fight near the Glacial Tomb. Like Galamoth, there is equipment that can let you cheese this fight. Battling him normally, though, will definitely tempt you towards that option. He's exceptionally fast, can pause time, and can suck your blood for huge chunks of damage. it's really easy for him to corner you, bringing the fight to a quick close. Absolute Radiance. Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight's Godmaster DLC gave players several pantheons, or sets of bosses, to test themselves against. And after completing all 5, you'd unlock a harder version of the base game's final boss. Since then, Absolute Radiance has garnered a reputation for being one of the hardest bosses in modern games. Each one of her attacks were already hard to deal with, but here they're much faster, and her projectiles appear in larger numbers. She also has an additional 6th phase with a new attack, firing a pair of orbs every couple of seconds. We also have to give credit to Lost Lace, the secret final boss of Silksong, who has a variety of troublesome moves. But Absolute Radiance is iconic in her level of difficulty. What secret Metroidvania boss brought you innumerable deaths? Share your experiences with us in the comments, and we'll see you next time.